Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips, which is brought to you by Wellness Forum Health and the Wellness Forum Institute. A couple of quick announcements. Every year in the fall, I present two weekend programs, Optimal Life and Health with Pam, Part 1 and Part 2. Part 1 is November 15 to 16. We record it in case you can't join live. I cover so much stuff you're interested in. I mean, I think you guys know how I take care of myself and I find time to do it no matter what's going on. I'm going to teach you how to do it too. And we're going to cover a lot of great stuff. First of all, getting in shape for winter. Why is that always a springtime thing? Let's be in the best shape ever during the winter. The supplement issue, optimal sleep, little diet changes that make a huge difference, real data on which exercise causes or results in what type of improvement, and a little bit about navigating the healthcare system, which is a challenge for everybody these days. But mostly we're going to focus on diet and lifestyle issues that keep us young and energetic and vibrant. By the way, for this program, high school students are welcome to take the course for free with their parent. And I have assignments for them so that they can use this as a homeschool class if you have homeschool teenagers, right? So the second one is December 6th to 7th. That's part 2, healthy aging. All right, so part 1, November 15 and 16, part 2, healthy aging, December 6th and 7th. If you're interested in that, then send me an email at pampopper@msn.com. I'll send you details on how you can participate. All right, so I've got two news items to share with you, both super important. And the first one is health officials are sounding the alarm because whooping cough cases are up in the United States. And the first thing is this goes on all the time. It's not something special. But just to talk about what they're talking about, according to the CDC, there have been 18,506 cases in the US so far, which officials claim is the most since 2014, when there were plus or minus 21,800. Officials say this is normal. Cases peak every 3 to 5 years. However, it's being blamed on lower vaccine uptake. In Wisconsin, where there have been about 1,000 cases, only 85% of kindergartners have received the vaccine. This is compared to the 92% uptake nationally, which the experts claim shows why Wisconsin has so many cases. But here's what's interesting. The outbreaks are taking place in older kids and teens. In Pennsylvania, most cases are in middle schools, high schools, and colleges. Well, this can't possibly be because of lower rates in vaccination recently in kindergartners. These kids got the jabs, all 3 doses, I think it is, when they were younger, and this is the problem. The vaccine doesn't work, and we've known it for a super long time. For example, there was an outbreak of pertussis in a Florida preschool in 2016. Almost all of the students were vaccinated. 5 out of 117 had not received all 3 doses. 26 students developed whooping cough, 2 were unvaccinated, and 24 were vaccinated. The highest rate of occurrence was in a classroom in which all 17 out of 17 children were vaccinated. Teacher was also vaccinated and also developed whooping cough. The authors wrote about this and said, quote, "This raises concerns about inadequate protection against pertussis in an age group believed to be well protected by a cellular pertussis vaccination." They added that this episode calls into question the effectiveness of vaccine for preschoolers and that, quote, "Recent pertussis vaccination should not dissuade physicians from diagnosing, testing, or treating persons with compatible illness for pertussis." The authors also noted that the number of whooping cough cases jumped 6-fold from 7,867 to 48,277 between 2000 and 2012, stating that the cause may be that the virus had mutated, which lowered the rate of vaccine-induced immunity. And this is one of the problems with many of these vaccines, is we all know that viruses mutate, and then the vaccine developed for that virus doesn't work anymore. We see this every year in flu season as well. And also notice that in response to the article that was written about the preschool outbreak in Florida, they're claiming tens of thousands of cases of whooping cough. And I've seen studies showing that as well. Outbreaks of pertussis continually take place in vaccinated kids and adults. One research group determined that the pertussis vaccine is only 34% effective at 24 months, stating that lack of long-term protection after vaccination is likely contributing to increases in pertussis among adolescents. And that's exactly what we see in these outbreaks, if you want to call them that, and across the country. In 2013, there were 26,000 cases of whooping cough reported in the United States, which is not surprising. According to a research study in the New England Journal of Medicine, as soon as the fifth dose is given, the efficacy begins to drop. Some suggest that a stronger vaccine should be developed, but we should look at history before we do that because the current weaker vaccine was introduced in 1991 because of injuries and responses from the older version that included high fevers and neurological symptoms. So the crazy thing about this is the vaccine doesn't work, but the answer to outbreaks is to get the vaccine, which is insane. So I don't even know what to say about this. It's ridiculous. And I'm hoping that sometime during my lifetime, we'll take a hard look at this entire schedule and see what is necessary and what is not. I suspect not much. All right, quick announcement, holiday cookies time. It's holiday season, believe it or not, getting ready for it. And every year we make these delicious chocolate coconut cookies. They're individually wrapped. We put them in a nice box. We include a card, holiday card if you're choosing, and $29.95, including shipping in the continental United States. The earlier you order them, the more likely your friends and family are going to receive them before the holidays. So this would be a good time, right? So anyway, just call our office at 614-841-7700, and you can order cookies. We'll send them all over the place. I think last year we sent cookies, sometimes a dozen to 2 dozen, to different people all over the country for one member or client. So don't have to be a member to order, just do have to call, and the earlier the better. All right, the second news item is I've been receiving a lot of emails about a new book called Good Energy, written by a medical doctor who trained to be a surgeon and then left the medical system because she had become very disillusioned about things like the lack of focus on diet and health promotion. She's been interviewed a lot recently, and she proposes different types of screening and diagnostic tests, which I'm not real fond of, and going after big food, doing something about ultra processed foods and diets that she recommends diets that contain a lot of animal foods. So people are asking what I think. So it's a complex answer. I'll have more to say about it later. But just to provide an answer, because it's more than one that I've received like this. First, let's celebrate a doctor who's willing to walk away from years of education that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars based on principle. I mean, I think we've spent the last few years seeing that there are plenty of health professionals who have demonstrated time and time again that they lack this type of character. So a lot of admiration for this. And I think that the one thing is not necessarily to insist that everybody agree, but that we have an open discussion about this stuff so that we can find out the best of everything, right? So I think this is a great thing, and hopefully this will just add to the discussion. But this doesn't mean that what she proposes instead is better or even possible. One thing that concerns me a lot is that she is proposing even more testing to look at even more details about health, which is one of the shortcomings of alternative medicine in general, which is a strategy that doesn't work and has been proven not to work. Just do more of it or a different version of it, and maybe it'll work, and it doesn't. It's like thermography instead of mammography. It's not different. The results aren't any different. And even drilling down to more fine details might make things worse. Another problem is that a lot of this type of incessant looking at biomarkers distracts people from the things that really make common sense to do. Change your diet, get hydrated, exercise, go out in the sun. We should all be making this a whole lot less complicated, not more complicated, with more attention required. I mean, my mission is to get people out of the medical mill, not find a different way for them to be in it, if that makes sense. As for ultra-processed foods, I think we can all agree that people should be eating less of them, but the way to accomplish this is not to demand that food companies make a different product or to get the government involved in making them make different products. I mean, let's face it, everything the government touches turns either into gridlock and nothing gets done, which is sometimes better, I have to say, or government agencies and employees make things worse and they get worse. And I'm going to give you an example. When I first got started and started Wellness Forum Health, the big conversation back then was trans fat. You got to get the trans fats out of the diet. Trans fats are unhealthy. That's true. They're unhealthy. They're not good for you, right? Well, They're pretty much out of most processed foods right now, and they've been replaced by tropical fats, which are high in saturated fat. So coconut oil has more saturated fat than lard. I don't think this made anything any better. So the answer is not more government intervention, and that's not the way to solve this. First of all, the government can't make companies make different products. And it's a fact that most of the large food companies that are making ultra processed foods are public companies, and many people's retirement income is dependent on these companies doing well. So they work for their shareholders. They have to make products that people will purchase. And when they veer from this mission, they pay the price. And retirements and pensions that are invested in these companies suffer, and individual retirees suffer. So this just recently happened. Look at what happened to the values of companies like Budweiser and Disney and Target when they made consumers mad by even their advertising approach and products that they carried. You might think that this is just punishment, but think of the school teachers and police officers whose retirement income depends upon the performance of companies like these. I'm not siding with these companies, and I certainly don't admire them for making the ultra processed foods and that sort of thing that they make. But I'm being practical. A top-down approach will not work. What we have to do is we have to change the consumer part of this, which involves education to reduce demand. When the demand drops for ultra-processed foods, there will be fewer of them made. The marketplace determines which products companies make and which are carried in stores, including grocery stores. And I saw this when I changed my diet years and years ago. I remember the grocery store closest to my house had a produce department the size of my living room, and there was very little in the way of healthy organic food, low-fat spaghetti sauces and whole grain pasta and that sort of thing. That entire store is full of stuff that I can buy and eat now. And the reason is not because they're a great company. I mean, maybe they are, I don't know. But the reason is people in my neighborhood want to buy that stuff, and that's what they carry. And that's the way the United States is supposed to work. A free economy where it's driven by consumer demand. In any case, I've added good energy to the books we'll be discussing in 2025 in our Healthy Book Club, so stay tuned for dates for that. Just a couple of other things I'll tell you about just by way of announcement, and then I'm going to sign off. We are raising our fees for health professionals training in 2025. We haven't done that since 2009. That's obviously a super long time, and we just have to do it. So now is a good time to talk to me to lock in the price of your training. The other thing is the COVID vaccine class is taking place on December 11th. And this is going to be maybe a little different than many people think. There are a lot of people who have problems as a result of this, to be clear. There are some doctors claiming that the injuries are more than there are. And in any way, the bottom line is just like the fluoride issue and the skin cancer issue and the whole 9 yards, I've been spending a lot of time on this. It's one of the reasons it got postponed from earlier this year to later this year, so I could actually do this research and tell you the truth about it. But that's going to be on December 11th. All right. If there's anything that has interested you about this, please send me an email. I'm at pampopper@msn.com, and I will be happy to get back to you with any information you request. That's all for today. As usual, pass this on to anybody who you think would enjoy watching it, and I'll be back to you on Thursday with more news. Thank you for watching.